So, Keisha, man, I know we're touching on so many different topics.
Yes.
And you had a point of growth,
Yes.
just listening to your story. There's so many layers to it, right?
Yeah.
That I'll be honest, when I saw you on Instagram, I was like, yeah, sure.
Pretty face, TikTok, dancing with my kids.
But then I followed your channel as well on YouTube.
Yes.
And I started getting into your content. And there's a video you actually did for Women's Month, which I just loved it, man. And you're talking about the virtuous wife or the virtuous woman, which is in the Bible is called the virtuous wife, right? So obviously, you are married, you have your own children.
Yes.
So how is that motherhood and marriage? How's that impacted you?
Yes, life changing, and I believe that when you become a parent, because I actually became a parent before I became a wife. So when you become a parent, you die to yourself every single day. And it gives you more of a purpose and a reason to live. So when you wake up in the morning, no matter how you're feeling, you know that you have people watching you. You know that there's a bigger cause as to why you're doing what you're doing. Because you have, and specifically me, I have a son. He's exactly like me in every way possible. And then I have 2 daughters. And my girls are obsessed with me. And I think every day I live, I always say that as a parent, children learn through living. They don't learn through telling them. You cannot tell your child. They learn so much about what you tell them, but so much more from what you do. So I believe in literally living my life as a mirror for my kids. And listen, I'm not perfect, but I try to be. I'm not perfect, but I try. So when I tell people, for example, and I always say, whenever you speak the truth, somebody gets offended. But at the end of the day, I always say Jesus was never liked by a lot of people. I've always got to remember that. But ultimately, any bad habit that you have, smoking, do mundane things, smoking, drinking, doing whatever you're doing, just try and preserve your kids. Even if you are somebody who smokes cigarettes, just do it on your own, try to be the parent by doing actions. You can't sit with a cigarette in your hand and say, smoking's bad for you, you can't smoke. Do you know what I'm saying?
You smoke. Like, do
you understand what I'm saying? I do believe in prayers and they work because you know what? I'm actually speaking of smoking, I'm coming from a family where my mom and dad both smoke and not one of the kids smoke cigarettes.
Okay.
So that's amazing. So I do believe in the power of prayer. And so my mother says, I prayed and I covered my kids. So I believe in the power of prayer. But you know what? Turn it up a notch. Do your part as well. That's just how I feel. Let's not just leave everything to God. Do our part and let God do the rest. So just be a representation. And that's what I've learned in my parenting is to be a representation of what I'd like to see in my kids one day. And I trust and I hope that my kids can be a positive impact on the world. They can be the friends. I always, when I pray, I always say, Lord, I pray that my kids are the positive influence in their friend group. Let them be the kids that say, let's go to church. Let them be the kids that say, oh, you're smoking. I'm going to tell your parents. Be the tattletale. I want my kids to be like that.
We've demonized those kind of kids, right? Like, you don't want to hang with those snitches.
Yes, I know, and that's fine. And that's what my son says. His mommy's, what's it? Snitches get stitches. I'm like, no, that was the bully trying to get, that was the bully trying not to get, get in trouble. The bully was so smart to tell you stitches get stitches. It's okay. You won't get stitches. Nobody's going to give you stitches, my baby. You come and you tell me. Who was picking my plants? Who was picking my flowers? What's his name? Tell me. And so ultimately, having kids is really just makes your life more joyful. It adds love and it adds so much grace to your life. And then obviously being married, I was my husband and I dated for a very long time before we got married. We actually together for, I think, like 14 years. We together for about 14 or 15 years, but married now this year for 5. So we were together for the 10.
That's rare, man.
Yes, and at the same time, we didn't have a fairy tale relationship. Sure. Oh, I knew he was the one. No, we had an extremely difficult. I always say we had a difficult girlfriend-boyfriend dating relationship, and our marriage has been godly and spiritual. Yeah. So I'm not one to sit and say, oh, when you see them, you just know it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work, but I believe in grace. And I also believe that when something is not aligned with God, He won't make it work, eh? God's not going to force your things if His plan is not prevailing. He will make His will prevail at the end of the day,
Sure.
I do believe that when we got married, God just said, okay, now you're in a covenant. You are in union with what I want. And I always speak favor over my life, and I know I'm favored. So God's always like, Nekisha, you always call yourself favored, but you're not married, but you got kids. There's something that's not aligning with the righteous woman, And I do believe that the blessings were unlocked when we got married, and things just went from strength. We literally grew as a couple from strength to strength and glory to glory, and literally it's all on God and faith. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So it's 5 years of a happy marriage, and I'm literally married to my best friend. Like, my husband is the best. He's so funny. I'm actually just thinking of him now.
Oh, man. I'm sure you'd be proud to hear that,
absolutely.
Man. And even like the glow on your face when you speak of it.
Absolutely. No, definitely. So, yeah.
Oh, man. I'm so grateful to hear that, because there's a big discussion going on about relationships. Men are this, men are no longer providers.
Yeah.
So there's I don't really like to get into it.
Yes.
Because, it's case by case. Like you said, now in your relationship, it was difficult, but then the marriage is so much more blessed, right? Whereas
absolutely.
There are people who've had like the best of relationships and they marry 3-4 years. It's like,
yes,
I don't know if I want this person anymore.
And I feel like that's my husband and I. That's our strength. We always say that. We were just having this conversation not long ago. We both feel like we fought too hard in our girlfriend and boyfriend era because we both came from this broken, two humans that are completely broken. We didn't know who we were. So we were imperfect together and we were sort of causing each other trauma. And now, honestly, and then it had to take us time of separation, growth in each other's selves to come back together, to be united with God as a foundation, and we started growing and flourishing, because anything that's planted in righteousness, I'm telling you, it will grow from strength to strength, and that's just what I believe. But when you're speaking about providing and a man being a provider, I'm a firm believer of the man providing, I'm a firm believer. I have traditional, I don't know if that's what we can call it, but I do have traditional beliefs that a man is a provider, and I think my husband has taught me that.
Sure.
My husband he's a born provider. He will not let me suffer. He will not. There's nothing that my husband has never told me no. Never. He's never said, no, I cannot do this for you. He will just, I think the way that he says it's so lovely. Not now, babe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can even ask him now. Right? And yes, a soft no, gentle no. And it's so funny, because even if I tell him, even if I know that it's not something that's in our budget, he'll never say, we don't have money for this. He says, don't worry, one day I'll do it. It's never, I have hope in him. I have hope in the things that, because he's proven to me what he's already done. And he's proven that when we didn't have, if I can give you just a quick story that's just come on the tip of my mind. Sure. Speaking of providing, we always have red flags and signs and stuff. I remember when my husband we were still taking taxis, taxi life, and my husband would take a taxi in town, like Durban Central Town, and I'm sure you know them. If you're South African and you know CBD. You walk past the lady that is boiling mealies on the side of the road. So that was our thing. And then my husband would come home on a Friday or whatever. He's like, Nekisha, I bought something for you. And I'm like, what? I'm running downstairs. What? I'm probably pregnant or whatever. It's like, I bought something. Come see what I got. And I just, when I walk past this lady, it smelled so, but I also got a love for food. I smelled these minis and maybe not every other Friday, as long as she was there, my husband's coming home with like that mini. And how much is it? About 15 Rand or 10 Rand or whatever. Sure. And he would come with this excitement and it's like, why do you have me? I got something for you. And, you know, and I wanted it for myself, but I bought one for you, you know. And for me, it was so cute. And, you know, you didn't care. I could have said that on the side of the road.
It's a thought, right? Like you thought of me, sure.
So from there, you always start to see the little red flags or where the person is thoughtful. So I believe in providing, and that same sort of energy has is being transparent. It's been consistent through my marriage.